everyone, I am the Sarcastic Sloth, and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be shining some light on a situation that has come about, and the source is actually quite an interesting one really. You'll all remember, I imagine, the Cash Me Outside girl from Dr. Phil. Her actual name is Danielle Bregoli. Her name at the moment that she's going by, because she has a music career, is Bhad Bhabie. Why am I bringing this up, you may ask yourself? That's a long dormant meme. Why are you bringing this up, Sloth? Well, the reason why I am is because a lot of information has come about as of late, especially from Danielle, in regards to Turnaround Ranch, which is the project in place where Dr. Phil would send these troublesome youths that would come onto his show, kick off for about 5 minutes, he'd make a nice little spectacle of things, and then later on ship them off to this Turnaround Ranch. So without further ado, let's get into everything and let's crack on. So as per usual, everything I'm going to be saying today are my own thoughts and opinions on the topic, and if you don't like that, ta-ra! So just to give you a little refresher on why Bhad Bhabie, aka Cash Me Outside girl, became, well, the phenomenon that, I guess that she did, I'll just play this little clip so that you can see exactly why that's the case. And also it sort of shows, it's kind of an interesting thing with Dr. Phil really, because it's one of those ones where I think as you watched it at the time, you didn't really see that much wrong with it, because the reason why people like Dr. Phil anyway seemed to be like he would just listen to what people had to say and then would just go, well, you got to get over it. And it's just sort of, everyone was like, yes, oh my god, king, and everyone just sort of really enjoyed it, especially the fact that a lot of his target audience were basically housewives that were there during the course of the day and saw him as like the straight talking southern psychiatrist, didn't have all of that fancy speak or lingo. It's also important to point out, I feel, that he's not a doctor and hasn't been since 2006. So I think from now on, I'm just going to call him Phil. It's been established that we're talking about Dr. Phil, so from now on, I'm just going to refer to him as Phil. It's one of those ones where, as you watched it as you got older, you realise that all he really did was basically say, get over it, and everyone was like, oh my god, he's like the most straight talking doctor in the whole wide world. But what we'll do is we'll have a look at this clip, and you can basically judge for yourself on whether you feel that 13-year-old girl who's acting out, if the best way to help her is really to just like put her in front of an audience of people that she can act out further in front of, and have them, all of which who are full-blown adults by the way, whether you feel that a bunch of housewives just laughing at a 13-year-old girl who's already acting up and has problems with acting up, and nothing actually being done in terms of getting to the root of that problem is being sought after. It's just more a case of, here's a circus act, what do you think of that sort of thing. So roll the clip.
Did you go to the 5th grade? No, I'm asking, how far did you go?
And all these hoes laughing like something funny.
She's talking about the audience, that they're laughing at her.
Did you say the hoes are laughing?
Yep.
So the audience are a bunch of hoes?
Yep. Catch me outside, how about that?
Huh?
Catch me outside, how about that?
Hindsight is a weird one, isn't it? Once you look back at that kind of thing, you kind of go, well, that's pretty messed up, man. I'd be pretty embarrassed. I'd be pretty pissed off if I were her or in her position. It's always just a case of, it's a spectacle. It's not actually any help coming along. At least Jeremy Kyle would have Graham come on every now and again and go, well, you should probably like listen to each other and try to be nice to each other every now and again. Oh, really? Wow, what a like absolute insight you have, Graham. My God. Like, but they've got to be seen to be attempting to help if they're going to be doing that kind of show, I guess. But I've never really seen them as a helpful method of getting to the root base of your problems. As especially I find it very suspicious when they want to just send that person off to some kind of ranch in the arsehole of nowhere. So when you see these kids being sent off to a ranch and then basically being worked, it's basically child labour. I don't think you'd get away with that in the UK, to be honest. It seems, to me, kind of unique in that way, where I just don't feel like you could get away with free child labour to keep your working ranch going. It's pretty bizarre. But anyway, the reason why we're talking about this now is because because Bhad Bhabie, it feels weird saying that name, but there we go, Danielle, has come out with a statement, and she's basically talking about all of the things that was happening at that ranch. So we're going to look at a few clips that I've taken from the overall video that she's released, but we'll watch these clips and then we'll, basically comment on them and see what's what.
I was 13 years old when I went to Turnabout Ranch. I feel like it's very important for me to speak on this because I kept my mouth shut for so long. I did touch on it a couple times in different situations, but I really want to get my whole story out there and let everything just be out, because that's the thing with these places is you have no evidence. You don't have a phone there. They don't have cameras there. Like, there's no evidence of none of this. And obviously all the staff is in on it, so they're not going to snitch on each other. All you really have is the kids that are there. So a young lady, her name is Hannah, she recently spoke out because while she was there, she was sexually assaulted, and then when she reported that she was assaulted, she was punished by staff. Now, when I seen the punishment she was given, I knew, like, okay, I really have to say something. Like, I really have to have her back on this, because I truly believe that they did that. So, Dr. Phil, I'm going to give you from now till April 5th to issue an apology, not only to me, but to Hannah and any other child that you sent to Turnabout or any other program like this. And if you don't, I'm going to handle things my way.
So it should be noted, at the point that I'm filming this, I'm probably going to put it out, it is the 21st of March. So obviously we're going to follow this story as it goes on and see where it will inevitably conclude. So the fact that this incident of SA is being reported, and in being reported that it was a punishment that this girl Hannah faced, has actually brought Bhad Bhabie, I'm going to refer to her as Danielle because I feel like it sort of undermines what I'm saying when I'm talking about something quite serious like SA. So I'm just going to call her Danielle. So Danielle felt that she was compelled to be able to come forward then off the back of this and learning about this, which would probably speak to the kind of culture that this ranch cultivated at that moment, with it being like a culture of fear. Because at the end of the day, don't forget, she's 13 when she was sent off to this ranch, and the kids are going to be around about a similar age. You think about what you were like when you were 13, and you've got a load of adults telling you what to do in this ranch in the middle of nowhere. You're going to be terrified. And that's just with the base that I'm telling you there, let alone the things that she tells us about in the rest of the video. So we'll have a look at the rest of the clips now.
Somewhere in the middle of August, I went on the Dr. Phil show, and my mom and my grandma knew they were sending me here. I didn't know I was going. I went school shopping right before, because the school was supposed to start when I got home from LA from doing the show. So part of the whole Dr. Phil show is they send these kids to either Turnabout or these other programs that are also in Utah, but they're all wilderness programs.
One thing I was thinking about when I'm watching all of this is how efficient Dr. Phil and that crew, and indeed shows like this anyway, are at sort of making people like a character. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a short spell of time that they're actually on that show, so they've got to make that person a character. In the full clip that I was showing you earlier, all he did was basically repeat what she said, because he's taking the piss out of the way she talks, and then is sort of like encouraging, sort of like a ringleader trying to get everyone to laugh at this kid, because it's more entertaining to find this like a laughable person, as opposed to going, hang about, why don't we get to the root cause of the issue here, as opposed to, yeah, why don't we just put you out here with all of the lights and all of the crowd and sort of try to make you a laughing stock, because that in itself is more entertaining for us as a TV show overall. I find that quite interesting.
Took in there against my will. They give you transporters. Transporters are two people, a male and a female, that come in the middle of the night. They don't tell them where they're going. They just take them, they handcuff them, they put them in the car. It's basically like kidnapping.
I don't care what age you are, right? If people come in the dead of night, handcuff you and put you in a car to go somewhere, you're going to be terrified. So I don't see how instilling fear and terror into a kid is meant to help them. That's an aspect of things that I did not know, and I think that a lot of people, if they knew the behind the scenes of this, wouldn't have stood for it back in the day either. And the fact that it's still going is kind of bizarre, and maybe it's just the fact that it's become some kind of weird institution. Yeah, probably that isn't the best thing for someone's mental health, especially a child who's in their developing years. But hey, when he's earning 65.5 million a year, who's to say what he cares about anymore?
First 3 days you're there is no showering. They put you in a circle, which is it's a teepee. It's a little teepee, but it's open, and you have to sit there for 3 days. They wouldn't let me lay down for nothing. I was falling asleep and they were like, get up. So I'm just sitting here like, this is gonna be really bad.
So for teenagers, this is like insane really, because one, you need your sleep when you're a teenager. Again, it's developing years. It seems like this is all designed to break the spirit and break the will, which is not helpful. It's not a helpful way of doing things. If you think, right, okay, think about this when they used to do the catch-up shows. So if you've been through an ordeal where you've had little sleep, malnourishment, you've been treated like absolute dog shit, and then all of a sudden you go, well, Dr. Phil's going to come along and see how we're doing now. You're going to be like, oh my God, I'm just going to do the best that I can because I never want to be sent back to this place ever again. So is them sending to somewhere that's just like a deterrent a useful thing, or is getting to the root problem a useful thing? I would wager the getting to the root problem myself, but hey, I might just be like some crazy hippie.
They strip you from your whole personality. You have to act like just whoever they want you to act like. They told me, okay, these are what your chores are gonna be. You do the same thing every day, chop wood, take care of the animals. This place is all about taking away privileges. Like, okay, yeah, the phone is a privilege, TV, like all that, but they take away like necessity privileges, like sleeping on a bed, eating good food, not being cold.
That's kind of crazy actually. When she mentioned that about the bed, my first thought instantly went to the 8 Passengers mum. I can't remember her name now, but taking away things that are basic, that are very, very basic to prove points. I'm just thinking now, like, would that work on me? I'd be like, no man, that would not work on me at all. Like, it would just piss me off even more. So that, like, I'd be interested to see what her relationship is like with her mum now, if I'm being honest. It sort of sounds to me like they're having their ranch worked on by free child labour that's malnourished and has little sleep and is just basically deprived of anything that would make them remotely comfortable. It's insane. I'm trying to think that when that would that be okay in any other walk of life, but it's the fact that it's the kid and the parent has signed off on it, thinking that this is going to be some kind of like, they're going to go off and they're going to find themselves and they're going to, be shown how to be good kids. But if anything, they're being terror-stricken into being good kids, or at least appear so that they can get out into the real world again and probably just pretend that everything worked when in reality it didn't, and you're probably more fucked up than you were before.
There's been times where I reported another student acting inappropriate or just anything like that. Didn't even have to do with me, and I would get in trouble for just witnessing it. If you reported another kid like getting bullied by like their peers or something, they would just say, well, maybe that's what they need, or like something like that.
Where is the duty of care here? There is none. It seems like it's abandoned. It's some kind of Lord of the Flies, apart from when they want to chip in and put in their own bizarre, weird punishments. Again, it sounds very much like 8 Passengers, but the kids from 8 Passengers would probably... In fact, actually, no. Tell a lie. I think the lad from 8 Passengers did get sent off on one of these. Jesus.
They had no problem holding kids down, which is against the law. You're not supposed to touch the kids, but they had no problem doing that. It's just our word against the staff's word when you're there, because there's no witnesses, there's no cameras, you don't have a phone, there's none of that. That's why I was always so scared to speak out, because it's like no one's gonna believe me. A lot of things that like happened to me there, it hurt me so bad because I was genuinely like confused. I'm writing letters to my mom like, Mom, I will do anything. Like, you don't understand what this place is like. Like, you can't do this to me. Like, I will do anything. I will do therapy every day. Like, I will go through an outpatient program, all that. Like, just please let me come home. The staff when I got there was this dude, Jimmy, and this dude, Ted. These are the night staff. 2 of the night staffs around me. They were really, really sweet.
See, I quite like the fact that she pointed out there were a couple of people among the staff who were nice, sweet, to use her words. There are going to be some adults who think weirdly that this is all needed because these kids they're bad kids. Kids aren't inherently bad. There's a myriad of different things that can, indicate why a child is the way that they are if they are acting up. It's not just because you have these bad kids, and Dr. Phil and programs like that really like to paint the picture of like, oh, well, they're just a bad kid, so they need to be sent off to this ranch and they need to have everything scared into them. And I don't feel like that's the case. I don't feel like that is the case at all.
One morning I was cleaning up for breakfast, and one of the staff members was standing right next to me, and she had her walkie on her, so I heard everything. One of the kids, he had tried to steal a car or something. Everyone was screaming on the walkies like it was really crazy, and he ended up killing one of the staff members. They made all the kids that were at Roundy come down, and then they told us not to tell us anything. A day later, they have us all every kid that's at Turnabout, they have us all sit in a circle, and they're like, listen, there was an incident, I know some of y'all heard it over the walkies, Jimmy died. And so we're all freaking out, because Jimmy was, like I said, he was one of them that was there the first day I got there. He was really sweet. Not only did Jimmy die, but one of the other staff members that was there at the time, Alicia, who was the daughter of the nurse. Alicia, she was also injured, and 2 years later she died, and she was also left disabled after being attacked by Clay. So the mother of the kid Clay who killed the staff, she was married to the brother of the president of the program, which I also believe is a conflict of interest. I don't know why they would do that.
As if you didn't think that it was already dark, it takes an even darker turn when one of these kids, which I hate to say it, but given what has been described so far in terms of like this pressure cooker for these kids who are already troubled, now they're sleep deprived, malnourished, working adult jobs, can't relax because they don't know if the other kids are going to kick off, or they don't know if the people who are supposed to be looking after them are going to kick off at them, or just leave them to it, Lord of the Flies style. I'm not surprised that one of these kids, I'm surprised actually it's only one of these kids that broke down in that kind of way. And that's sad. That's really sad that that thought process is there, because it shouldn't have been the case. If you're in some kind of scheme where you're supposed to be taken care of and made to be a better person, then at what point during any of this, any of what's been talked about or what's been described, and I believe it all, are you supposed to be a better person out of all of this, as opposed to a scared person because you just don't want to go through this anymore? It's really pissing me off, this is.
My mom had always threatened me as like, oh, I'm sending you away, but she never did it. This was the first time she really did it. Like, I never thought my mom would do this. So what parents need to understand is if your child is acting out because of trauma, like sexual abuse, or maybe like the kid's parents got divorced, or just anything like that, you don't send your kid to a program like this. You need to send your kid to a program where they're not being punished, and it's not about, everything's not about you're in trouble. You're just using children to keep your ranch going, and you're not even feeding them or letting them sleep in decent conditions.
Absolutely true. It's you can't just you can't just like turn a kid around by just constantly punishing them. It doesn't make any sense. I feel like it's just a case of you just get someone to work on your ranch for a bit, and then they go out and they pretend to be like well adjusted and behaved, because if you give that appearance, because they're always just trying to elicit a certain appearance, they don't want you to actually change your behaviors, they just want you to change your appearance, then then they feel like their job is done, when their job is far from done, because they haven't done anything. They're just putting you to work, basically, because it's like cheaper for them. I haven't watched those kinds of programs for a really long time, but now, we're older, we're in a different age now. It's just looking back to think that anyone was doing that at one point. It sort of seems like madness, doesn't it? It's like, or at least it does to me. And I do believe that those kinds of things don't work. I don't see why putting kids to work at 13 under these kinds of conditions would help them be better kids. It just makes them like more frightened kids, I think, and probably more traumatized kids in the long run too, as opposed to maybe actually like paying attention to like maybe what it is that you're doing as a parent, or who that kid is surrounded by and influenced by. Maybe that would kind of work. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you liked the video, then like and subscribe. But as per usual, stay safe out there.